Hey man, did you know the mom used to ride a motorcycle?
Did not know that.
I'm joking, she just rode a bike. I don't know if she rode a motorcycle, but that would be cool. Who has a jerk brotherhood contract job? Can you imagine that shit? What?
Today we will delve deep into a question that I'm certain we have all pondered at one point or another. In fact, I know we all have. And I do believe I have found the answer. The true, definitive answer. Even though it might not be correct, it is correct. Which makes no sense, but it will in time. Now, to come to educated conclusions in regards to the questions that we'll be asking and answering in this video, we'll need to be equipped with some lore on the Dark Brotherhood, the beloved yet infamous Guild of Assassins. Primarily, we'll need to know where it is currently at and how it's functioning. So, to start, sadly, after the events of the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, the fate of the Dark Brotherhood was very unfortunate. While 200 years before Skyrim, it definitely still had its tribulations, there were still multiple functioning sanctuaries across Tamriel. This changed though, 30 years before the events of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, in the 4th era, year 171. This is when the Great War began, the war which saw half of Tamriel in the province was eliminated, wounding the Dark Brotherhood's reach, reputation, power, and influence across all of Tamriel. Soon, worse things followed. The Shadow Scale training facility on Archon was abandoned in Black Marsh, cutting away the ancient tradition from the Dark Brotherhood, lessened the income of new recruits, and soon saw the Shadow Scale art die out. This led to chaos and conflict internally, as the ruling body of the Dark Brotherhood, the Black Hand, was divided, leading to a lack of direction and hamstringing the faction further. Soon, the Bruma Sanctuary in Cyrodiil fell, leaving almost no survivors, losing yet another foothold. The trade city of Wayrest in High Rock was raided by Corsairs, seeing the sanctuary there destroyed. The remaining
It's no secret the Aretino boy is doing some ritual trying to call the Dark Brotherhood. Who's going to stop him? Me? I have no part of that.
If we head into the city itself to hunt down this child, we will only find that the rumors are true. As we enter the house, we will find a child performing the Black Sacrament. He will mistake us for a Dark Brotherhood member and ask us to kill the matron of the orphanage which he escaped from in.
It worked! I knew you'd come. I just knew it! I did the Black Sacrament over and over with the body and the things, and then you came and saved the Dark Brotherhood. My mother, she died. I'm all alone now. So they sent me to that terrible orphanage in Riften. Honor Hall. The headmistress is an evil, cruel woman. They call her Grella the Kind. But she's not kind. She's terrible to all of us. So I ran away and came home and performed the Black Sacrament. Now you're here and you can kill Grella the Kind.
Now, if we travel across country, south into the verdant autumnal forests of the Rift and make our way to the city of Riften, near the castle we'll find the very place we were looking for, the Honor Hall Orphanage. And we can find this Grella the Kind being a right crone.
And one more thing. I will hear no more talk of adoptions. None of you riffraffers getting adopted, ever. Nobody needs you. Nobody wants you. That, my darling, is why you're choosing. One will always be there. Day will come of age and you'll run into that wide, horrible world.
Drive an arrow through her skull and listen to all of the happy children cheer and praise.
Oh, I just really did it! He got the Dark Brotherhood to kill his brother!
Now the deed has been done, we'll head back to the frozen stone citadel of Windhelm
And they're all
collect
happy
on our
about it.
contract.
I knew you could do it. I just knew it. I knew the Dark Brotherhood would save
I knew the Dark Brotherhood would save me. What the fuck?
Thank you. Thank you again.
Now that that's done, we can get on with our lives. Well, not actually, because in the coming days this will happen.
Let's see. Yeah, got this note.
Who's this from?
Don't know. You see his face? Paid me a pretty sum to get that into your hands, though.
We'll receive a mysterious note that simply has a black hand and says, "We know." But what's more interesting than this is that next time we sleep, we will have quite the journey ahead of us and a major question to answer.
Sleep well.
Yes, I did, thank you. And I have woken up with strangers before, but this is different. Where am I and who are you?
Does it matter? You're warm, dry, and still very much alive. That's more than can be said for old Grellod.
Oh, how do you know about that?
Half of Skyrim knows. Old hag gets butchered in her own orphanage. Things like that tend to get around. Oh, but don't misunderstand. I'm not criticizing. It was a good Crone had it coming. And you saved a group of urchins to boot. But there is a slight problem.
A problem? I can't imagine what you're talking about. This situation's entirely normal.
You see, that little Aretino boy was looking for the Dark Brotherhood. For me and my associates. Grellod the Kind was, by all rights, a Dark Brotherhood contract. A kill that you stole. A kill you must repay.
You want me to kill someone else? Who? Because at the moment, I'm just looking at you, you smarmy.
Well now, funny you should ask. If you turn around, you'll notice my guests. I've collected them from, well, that's not really important. The here and now. That's what matters. You see, one of them, and that person can't leave this room alive. But, which one? Go on. See if you can figure it out. Make your choice. Make your kill. I just want to observe and admire.
My lips are synced for added mystery now.
Am I to take your silence as acceptance? Then you know where we stand. Make your kill and we're square. Repayment of your debt is but a discreet knife thrust away.
So now we will be faced with the very question that has left me infrequently sleepless since I first played Skyrim all those years ago. Who has the Dark Brotherhood contract on them? Which person in this cabin is the correct person to kill to fulfill the wish of accurately determining who has been officially sentenced to death via the Black Sacrament and the Dark Brotherhood?
The anticipation is killing me. Can you figure out who has the contract? Which one will you choose?
Now, before we get started, regardless of who we do kill, whether we kill one of them, two of them, or all three of them, Astrid will never reveal who the correct choice was.
Oh, no. Don't you understand? Guilt, innocence, right, wrong, irrelevant. What matters is I ordered you to kill someone, and you obeyed.
So we never actually find out. That's why we're here now. So let's start with the whimpering Nord on the left.
I can hear you talking out there. Please let me go. I've done nothing to you.
Who are you?
My name is Full-Time. I'm a soldier. Well, mercenary, really. You know, a sellsword. I've lived in Skyrim all my life. That's all. I'm a nobody, really. So, can't you just let me go?
Would someone pay to have you killed?
What? Oh, God. I don't want to die.
Oh my god, just answer the question or die.
Please, I don't know. I mean, I'm a soldier. I killed people when I was ordered to. Maybe there was some times. Sometimes I got carried away. War is war, right? Nobody could blame me for that. Could they?
Yeah, they could.
What did I do? Please, whatever it is, I'm sorry.
So Full-time is a mercenary who self-admittedly has gone a bit too far during some of his work and might have just picked up a few vendettas along the way. Or someone could. I went a little bit further. Characters in Skyrim share the same name, especially first names. But in this case, there is another character with this name full-time, in which we can talk to the barkeep. Do you get a lot of business?
Nah, not so much. The odd traveler on the road. But mostly just old full-time. Come to drink away a lifetime of bad memories.
So there's a guy named Full-Time who is here to drink away a lifetime of bad memories.
Beds and beer are both lousy, last me. You see any other inn around here? Where else would I go to drink? Sure, walk away. I wasn't talking or anything.
The interesting thing about him is that he carries a blade's sword. His harrowing past and the sword suggest that Full-Time here is in fact a Blades member, in hiding of course, as when the Great War ended with the signing of the White Gold Concordat, the Blades were outlawed, hunted down and killed by the Aldmeri Dominion. So for someone to publicly wear a Blade sword means they are really connected to it, as it is literally a death sentence to be seen with it. Likely why Full-Time here lives in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Now the reason this is important is that this mercenary in the cabin, Full-Time, could have used his name as an alias, knowing that there was this great Blades warrior called Full-Time. So he used his name to give himself an alias that had some weight to it. People would be more inclined to hire him if they thought he was a great warrior and war hero. Now, if this theory is true, someone could have put a contract on the actual Blades war hero Full-Time in the Nightgate Inn, but then the Dark Brotherhood got the wrong guy and picked up this mercenary who was posing as the real Full-Time to get more money and clients. While that theory may or may not be true, it is important to lay out all the information and possibilities, given that these three characters in the cabin have absolutely no backstory. Next in the middle, we have the Nord woman called Alea Quintus.
Just keep things off of me. Coward. Stealing a woman from her home. For shame.
Who exactly are you?
None of your dead business who I am. If you're going to kill me, just do it already. Edmara is my witness. If I didn't have this hood on right now, I would spit right in your face.
Would someone pay to have you killed?
Excuse me? What kind of question is that?
Oh, God's sake, just tell me what I need to know.
I'm a woman living in Skyrim with 6 children and no husband. I don't have the time or the patience to be nice. Do some people look down on me? Have I an enemy? You're damn right. I don't have time for this nonsense. I've got a home to keep.
Okay, so at face value, she seems pretty. She seems like she'll give you a strict bedtime, but I'm not getting this woman must be killed vibes. Now she does mention that she lives in Skyrim with 6 children. Now I went through all of Skyrim, every city, every town, every village. I went through the game files, I went through the wikis, I went through the Imperial Library, and there is not a single sign of this woman ever existing. There's no house, there's no family, no children, no husband, nothing. So sadly, we really can't piece together anything for her, and can only work with what she's told us. Which again, she really doesn't come off as someone who would have a contract put on her. Sure, she might be a strict mother, but given the context of the situation, I'm pretty sure she's innocent. Next we have the Khajiit of Varsha.
Well, it is clearly we got off on the wrong foot. But no worries. This is not the first time I have been bagged and dragged. Come now, whatever the problem, we can talk about it like civilized folk.
Who are you?
Varsha, at your service. Opinion of good? taker of lives and defiler of daughters. Have you not heard of me? Perhaps I will have my people carve my name in your corpse as a reminder.
Would someone pay to have you killed?
Me? Are you serious?
Answer the question, you furry dope, or I'll paint this room with your pussycat blood.
Oh, don't you get it? I live in the shadow of death every day. A knife in every doorway. A knocked arrow on every doorstop. If one of my enemies will not pay to have me killed, I will take it as a personal insult. Tell you what, you release me, and I promise my associates will not hunt you down like an animal and butcher you in this pit. It is a win-win. Hello? Hello? I know you are listening.
No. So, at face value, the Khajiit captive Varsha, purely on gut instinct and first impressions, is definitely the most likely candidate. He's arrogant and admits to being a man of crime, deceit, defiler of daughters, acquirer of objects. He's an all-round, hateable and very killable character. So again, at face value and first impressions, I'm sure all of our gut feelings the one with the contract on his head. And if not, he's just the one that we want to kill the most. Now, Khajiits are well known for being wily, untrustworthy, and all-round vagabonds, walking in circles that often break the law, and tread in shadows that often lead to mischief. Varsha appears to be an arrogant exaggeration of the stereotype of his race. But despite all of this, and his claims of grandeur and his people, there are absolutely no signs of his character existing outside of this cabin, just like the other two. There's no gangs, there's no journals, there's no factions, no dialogue mentions, nothing. So all we do have to go off is what he says to us. However, there is something interesting hidden in plain sight. His name Varsha is unknown in the Khajiit language. It's a very obscure name and one we have not seen before for his kind. Varsha does, however, mean gone or dead in Aliadun, the language of the Aliad. So his name literally means dead. It's very suspicious given the current circumstances. It might be a hint that this guy was in fact the one the contract was on, or that he's the one Bethesda Game Studios thought most people would kill. I think that would be right. And while we're on the topic of his name and its obscurity within the Khajiit culture, Varsha is eerily similar and equally obscure as the name Rasha. Much like Varsha, Rasha is a name not seen in Khajiit culture either. But there was a very important and prominent member of the Dark Brotherhood who was
I got it!
What?
The two slotted.
What?
was the last
Are we going to keep on making them?
Huh?
Lock that one.
That was dope.
What? Actually, it's actually a good attack one. Are you still recording?
Yeah, I'm still recording now. I made one.
Crazy.
the leader of the Shadenhill Sanctuary and the last remaining member of the Black Hand, following the Great War and the complete downfall of the Dark Brotherhood that we spoke of earlier. Now, with the death of the last listener, the Dark Brotherhood was unable to communicate with the Night Mother. The already shattered faction was demoralized and left in the dark. Ironically, in an attempt to bolster confidence and hope within the Dark Brotherhood, this Khajiit leader, Rasha, lied and claimed that he had been chosen as the new listener. However, after being unable to confirm the words that the Night Mother teaches all listeners, which is confirmed by all keepers, Rasha was killed for sacrilegious acts by the remaining members of the Dark Brotherhood. Now, while Rasha did act with a noble purpose, ultimately he lied and betrayed sacred rites. So Varsha, here in the cabin, might just be a nod or a spiritual successor and embodiment of the Khajiit that we just spoke of, Rasha. Of course, while that may or may not be true, both of those names are very odd and unfamiliar yet very similar, both belonging to male Khajiit within a negative context of dark. Well, traditionally the Dark Brotherhood lives by the 5 tenets, which is quite hard to read on these stone tablets lining the walls of the sanctuaries. Luckily, there is this handy book that we can read instead. Tenet 1. Never dishonor the Night Mother. To do so is to invoke the wrath of Sithis. Tenet 2. Never betray the Dark Brotherhood or its secrets. To do so is to invoke the wrath of Sithis. Tenet 3. Never disobey or refuse to carry out an order from a Dark Brotherhood superior. To do so is to invoke Sithis. Tenet 4. Never steal the possessions of a Dark Brotherhood the wrath of Sithis. And Tenet 5. Never kill a Dark Brother or Dark Sister. To do so is to invoke the wrath of Sithis. So there it is, number 5. Tenet number 5. Never kill a Dark Brother or Dark Sister. But what if this conflicts with Tenet 3? Never disobey or refuse to carry out an order from a Dark Brotherhood superior. Well, as we see in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood questline, when the purification ritual is performed, it seems that killing a Dark Brother or Dark Sister is allowed, under the right circumstances, of course, those being that it was the orders of a superior within the faction. So technically, on this front, I suppose that it would be possible for Astrid to have a contract against her. But even if this were the case, as Astrid herself says,
Used to be the Dark Brotherhood was bound by 5 tenets, but we stopped following those years ago. All those rules, all that discipline, and look where the Dark Brotherhood ended up. We're the last of our kind, and we live the way we see fit. Bottom line, respect your family. Do that, and everything else will fall into place.
The modern, tiny remaining sliver of the Dark Brotherhood in Falkreath's Sanctuary don't follow the tenets so strictly anymore. But it's also important to know, where do contracts actually come from? Well, Astrid has the answer for this too.
They used to come from the Night Mother. Potential clients would perform the Black Sacrament, and she would hear their prayers. The Night Mother would communicate this to the listener, who would then dispatch a speaker to arrange the contract with the client. But that was a long time ago. There hasn't been a listener in years. Not since Cyrodiil was overrun in the war with the Thalmor. But people don't know that, so they still perform the ritual. And we eventually hear about it. When someone wants us, we find out.
So traditionally, someone would perform the Black Sacrament. The Night Mother would hear their prayers. She would pass this on to the listener, who would tell a speaker. The speaker would then pass on the contract to one of the assassins. But since the last listener was lost, no one can communicate with the Night Mother. So now they rely on word of mouth. Now this is important because it creates a great catch. With the Night Mother not being in the sanctuary, there also being no listener, and Falkreath's Sanctuary being the only functioning remnant of the Dark Brotherhood, who accepts the contracts? The head of the faction does. And who is that? Astrid. So would Astrid have accepted a contract against herself? Would she do that? No, I wholeheartedly believe that she would not. The only outcome of such a thing would be either her death, or the death of someone from her Falkreath Sanctuary. Those who she considers her family. It would be absolutely pointless and serve no purpose. Now, it is possible that someone performed the Black Sacrament against Astrid. If this were the case, the Night Mother would have heard it. But even if this did happen, would the Night Mother accept the contract against Astrid? I definitely do not believe so. And just for hypotheticals, even if the Night Mother did accept a contract against Astrid, Astrid would not know about it, as the Night Mother has been silenced since she lost her last listener. So there would actually be no way of Astrid knowing if such a contract against her existed, which I don't believe it does. I have no reason to believe that. Now, there could be a strange case in which someone performed the Black Sacrament against Astrid, and she heard about it via rumor, as they do now, which would mean that she did have the ritual performed in the name of her death. And if that was the case, whether she accepted it or not, she could have just kept it to herself. So if this is the case, which it definitely is not, when we kill her, she could be saying well done, because in a sense we figured it out. Or at the very least we killed the right person, her. But who would want Astrid dead? And even if someone did want her dead, why perform the Black Sacrament? That seems asinine considering Astrid is the head of the faction they'd be hiring. Well, the only unexplained Black Sacrament ritual that we can find in Skyrim is found in Riften, inside the Blackbriar Manor, down in the basement behind a master-level locked door. Inside this room we can find the Black Sacrament ritual. But along with the required items, there is also a note on the ground, a letter to the Brotherhood. Astrid, I thought your people were supposed to be reliable. I performed the Black Sacrament, I've paid the proper penance, and I've waited patiently for results. If you can't handle a simple assassination, I'll find someone who can. I want this contract handled, and I want it handled immediately. Signed, Maven Blackbriar. Now, given that this letter is addressed to Astrid,
What was that, Noah?
a very clean,
Just
educated
from her
guess
soul
and
group.
say that this
They're
Okay.
talking
Black
about
Sacrament
no.
contract
Last time they were
was
just
not
talking
on.
about how nobody wants to host souls.
Astrid herself. However, Maven may have performed the ritual in Astrid's name as a kind of upuse or crush to its contracts. All of this seems very unlikely, but it is possible. So, did Astrid have a contract on her? Was she the target in the room? I truly don't think so. I believe her line of, well done, is there as acknowledgement of our prowess in defeating the Dark Brotherhood's leader. While it's not as juicy, in my eyes, it's the more likely option. Astrid was not the target. So where does this leave us? While technically and theoretically any one of these people in the room could have a contract on their head, I cannot put a full-time contract on it. I cannot prove that Alea has the contract on her. I cannot prove that Varsha has the contract on him. and I cannot prove that Astrid has the contract on her. However, I do know the answer, as there is another guest in the cabin.
Hey, you.